All right, guys, so I'm going to go over two examples, number 4 and number 7, and then we're going to look at the back side to show you how we do those. So this is the case where you're given two factors to choose from. And again, you choose what you want to use. So we choose one of the two factors. That is the very first part. It doesn't matter which one you want to go with. So in this case, I'm going to choose x plus 4 to work with first. I could have done x minus 2. Doesn't matter. Now, do understand, depending on which one you use first, or do understand that if I use negative 4 or if I use 2, I'm going to get two separate polynomial answers at the end, but ultimately, in the end, your answer will be the same. So I'm going to use x plus 4. So opposite number, I'm going to use negative 4 with synthetic division. So I plug in all the numbers, making sure I'm not missing anything. And then no surprise that I get 0 at the end, so I can be confident and go ahead and put that. So after we go through synthetic division, we get the following. So we go through synthetic division, no surprise that we get those numbers, and especially 0 at the end. So I chose x plus 4. I use the opposite number because it's a factor. And if I started with the 4, this is going to start 1 degree less. So this would become x to the third minus 8x squared plus 12x. Now, once we are here, we try to factor. This is our goal. And, I'm going to put a question mark on here. Try to factor because we may or may not be able to. So I noticed that even though I've got another factor right here, I could do synthetic division again if I wanted to, but maybe I try to factor. And if you think about it, this is factorable because I can take out at least an x. So if I take an x out, that leaves me with x squared minus 8x plus 12. Well, fantastic, because now this right here, I know I can factor because, again, what multiplies to give me 12, that adds to give me negative 8, and that would be x minus 6 and x minus 2. Well, if I bring down this x right here, that's my GCF, but wait a minute. This is a little bit different than what we did in class. See, I only did synthetic division one time right here. I only did synthetic division one time. And since I factor this problem, notice that I got x minus 2. Well, I've already got 3 factors right here. So that means this other factor is x plus 4. So I'm going to add that to my answer. So this minus 4, I put it, I can put it at the end if I wanted to. And notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. And that means I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 answers, and my degrees of 4. But you might be thinking, wait a minute, you forgot the x minus 2 up here. But here's what you got to understand. I only did synthetic division one time. And when I did synthetic division, I got to here and I was able to factor this, and it just so happened that when I factored, I got the x minus 2 that I already had in the original problem that was given to us. So using your knowledge of the degree is 4, I should have 4 answers, and probably I will have 4 factors. Well, once you factor the first time, we already got 3 factors right here, 1, 2, 3. But that means I have to include this one as well, and now I got 1, 2, 3, 4 factors, and I'm done. So that means this x minus 2 was the x minus 2 that was given to us. So this right here is our correct factorization. All right, guys, this is number 7 on the worksheet. So this time I give you zeros. So once again, we are going to choose one of the 2 zeros. You just choose one of the 2. Now, I'm going to choose 2 as opposed to 0. You could choose 0, and it works. It's just a little odd when you work stuff out. So I'm going to use that 2. Since it's a 0, I use the same numbers. Okay, don't use the opposite when you're given a 0. So we put in the numbers, 1, negative 2, negative 3, 6. Probably no surprise that I'll get 0 at the end. So when you do synthetic division, you get the following. All right, so again, no surprise that we get 0 at the end here. So when I work out synthetic division, notice I have a 0 here, so that means I got to skip over some stuff. So we started with a 4. That means this is going to start 1 degree less, so that would be x to the third. Now, This would be x squared, but there's nothing there. So that means this is going to be minus 3x. Now, the difference of the directions on the bottom, the top is factor. Here, now we have to solve. Okay? So even though I've got another 0 here to work with, and it happens to be 0, how can I solve this problem? Well, I cannot do quadratic formula because that's not a quadratic. But wait a minute. Maybe I can solve by factoring instead. And the reason I choose factoring is I notice they both have an x. And this is why it works so nice. So if I take out an x, that leaves me with x squared minus 3. Now we're solving, and this is awesome because now this turns into a quadratic. So when we solve by factoring, it says we take our factors and we set them equal to 0. Hey, there's x equals 0. Wait a minute. I did synthetic one time, and I got 0, which just happens to be the 0 that I already knew. So when I set this equal to 0, well, wait a minute. That's factoring. I can't do anything, so I solve this by square roots. I move the 3 over. I take the square root, and I get plus or minus radical 3. So I got 2 solutions here. I got 3 here. That means my fourth one is this one right here. So this is the one that I use. This is my choice. That's what I used at the very beginning. And then I got x equals 0 and x equals plus or minus radical 3. These are the zeros that I just found. And wait a minute, I've got all 4 zeros. I got a 2, I got a 0, I got a plus radical 3, I got a minus radical 3. Since there are 4 solutions, I'm finished because my degree is a 4. Now, so let me recap. I chose one of the 2 zeros. So I chose, fantastic. I chose 2 to work with. I could have done 0 if I wanted to. So I worked with 2. I did synthetic one time. I'm going to try to solve this, and I know I can solve not by the quadratic formula. I can solve by factoring. I took out a GCF, I simplified, and I worked it out, and when I found those solutions, I happened to have 3 of them. That meant my fourth one was the one that I chose at the beginning, and I'm done. So that does not mean I have 2 zeros in this case, because if I added another 0, that would give me 5 solutions, and it not be that 4. All right, guys, last problem I want to show you real quick. Even if you don't have a calculator, at least you can follow what I'm going to do. So this is the back of the worksheet. This is number 9. This is where you have no help given to you whatsoever. So when you have no help, in other words, no factors and no zeros. So if that's the case, then what I want to use is the calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this function, this polynomial function, and I'm going to type it into the calculator. And I've already got mine typed in there so that we can see. So it's already good to go. So I've got it typed in. And then what I want to do is I want to graph it, and I want to locate where it's going to cross the x-axis. Now, we get lucky in number 9 because it looks like it crosses perfectly right here at -4. It looks like it crosses perfectly at 2. Looks like it crosses perfectly at 3. That would be my 3 solutions because my degree is a 3. But let me just verify that I think it's, if I just write this down, I think it's x equals -4. I think it's x equals 2, and I think it's x equals 3 because the directions do say to find all the roots. But when I type this in, it looks like those are good. So what I want to do is just kind of go to my table of values, second graph, and notice at -4, I get 0 for my y value. So awesome. At 2, I get 0 for my y number. Awesome. And if I just check one more number that I thought was the answer, notice when x is 3, I get 0. These are my solutions. I'm done. I don't need to show any work because the calculator was awesome enough to give me those 3 solutions. And now notice these are perfect solutions. This will not always be the case because many of these problems on the back side we're going to have to use synthetic division to help us solve. So when you come in tomorrow, we are typing these in our calculator. We're going to look to see where it crosses the x-axis, and if we get lucky like we do in number 9, awesome. If we don't, we've got to figure out what to do tomorrow, and that's what I'm going to show you.